Start the recording. Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Farnia Fresnel, and I'm happy to be back today for this episode of C.L.E.A.R before the end of the year in partnership with BetterSpaces. I'd also love to hear any questions or thoughts you have throughout the session, so feel free to speak into the space as you see fit. If you do want to hang out a little bit afterwards, you can if you have some questions that you'd like to have answered. But welcome today. For those of you joining for the first time, our series is called Leadership COGS, and we focus our topics on situations that high-performing leaders face. And a quick reminder of what COGS is. If you've never been here before, C stands for celebration. It's the celebration necessary to notice that something has shifted. We have little tiny things that happen to us every single day, and you have the opportunity to celebrate in service to wherever or whatever you're working on. O is for ownership. Ownership is, taking accountability and responsibility for the shifts that might happen to you and through you. G is the glue that often keeps you, me, and others stuck. And S is the stretch that many of us face when we're trying something new. So before we dive in, I just invite you to take a moment and look around. If you were in your workspace, just take a look around your workspace. Take a look at your desk. Take a look at your Outlook or your inbox. Take a look at your project list and drop this in the chat. How much of it feels unfinished? Unfinished. We're in November 2025. How much of it feels like clutter? Not just physical clutter, but mental clutter. If you're like me, it might be quite a bit of it because you have unfinished emails, that your draft box has hundreds of unfinished emails in it. So today we're going to make space for what's next by clearing what no longer serves. So each year in the final quarter, it kind of just sneaks up and we say things like, oh, I'll get that done after the holidays, or next year, or this one. And let me know in the chat, just by a show of reactions, have you heard this one? I'll do it once things slow down. And reality is, things don't slow down simply because a calendar year has elapsed. Things don't necessarily slow down because it hits January. The truth is, what we don't clear now follows us into January. Unfinished tasks, unclear priorities, and unspoken conversations, they all take up capacity, not just your time. They cloud your focus. They drain your energy, and they keep you from moving forward with confidence. So I say this because I know a lot of friends, they joke at the end of the year, you don't get your vitamin D. You're not outside as much. The days are shorter. That's what's causing me to be fatigued. But oftentimes it's not that. It's the unfinished. And at the year end, typically what happens is it's unfinished, aligned with a lot of personal things that may be going on. Holidays, if you're in the United States, holidays, events that are happening in competition with the work that you're doing. So I was talking to my team and I had a question for them. I asked them to provide upward feedback. So upward feedback is when you as a leader just have a conversation and listen without judgment. Listen to how people are experiencing your leadership and what impacts you may have on them. So without judgment, you can reply, but it's best to just listen. And what I heard kind of surprised me. It'd be really helpful if you could prioritize a little bit more. And at first I was kind of like, uncomfortable and I kind of laughed it off, but in reality, they were right. I was busy and I wasn't always aligned. I was productive, but I wasn't always focused on what mattered most, and what they were receiving might have been in competition with the number of things that we had to get done. So that feedback helped me see that clarity isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about knowing what to release. And that's what today's about, creating space for what matters most. So I invite you to get a piece of paper if you want to get up and get a sheet of paper because this will be a writing exercise today. So I have my trusted notebook here, but I invite you to get a sheet of paper and work through this clear framework with me as we go along. So you invested this time to be here. Let's make sure that it counts. So the clear framework, my C's, I love the C in celebration. So first, start by recognizing what worked. Jot down your C. Think about this year. Think about this year and just jot down what worked. What goals did you meet? What challenges did you overcome? When we celebrate, our brains release dopamine and it reinforces our success and our optimism for what's coming next. So I'm going to just slow my conversation because I'm anticipating that you're writing down what you're celebrating as we're entering November 2025. Let's not rush past all the wonderful wins of this year just because your lists aren't done being created, just because your inbox is not empty or sorted. Let's celebrate what is working, which goals have actually met their objectives. Let's celebrate that. And if you don't have a notebook, feel free to drop it in the chat as well. I oftentimes actually type faster than I write. So let's move to the L. The L is let go. Let go. What are you holding on to that's weighing you down? And I'll give an example. At the end of the year, I know my desk, I try to be as paperless as possible, but sometimes I use paper and some things that come in the mail are in fact paper. But I may not sort them, I may not file them, may not take care of some of those things as they come in. So there's like a pileup of paper, and that's something you're holding on to. How can you get rid of that? How can you get rid of old tasks, outdated goals, the things that you thought in January when maybe you were setting some resolutions, the things that you were thinking may not be what you're thinking right now. And they may not be aligned with the opportunities that are new for you in this moment. So let go of. What can you get let go of? Which outdated goals no longer serve you? Which projects no longer need to be finished? Not everything deserves to cross into the new year. Letting go creates the space, it creates the capacity for something better to emerge. And I like to think this way. You actually can't step into next year if you're still carrying this year's load because it gets heavy and it gets hard and harder because the realm of possibility is that much bigger and it doesn't actually have to be. The E. What is the E? The E is evaluate. So start to look honestly at your current commitments. You are in November. Chances are, if there were projects you're working on, you are very clear on what is important. Be honest with yourself. What are your current commitments? Who are you committed to? And in that analysis, consider yourself. And if you don't see yourself when you're looking at these current commitments, then that might be, let's go back to the prioritization. How can you prioritize so you are in this equation as well? Where are you overextended? Where are you adding value? All of that goes into the evaluation. And then, as I said, some goals may no longer serve, but some of them do. So, what still aligns with the goals that you do have? If you're letting go of the ones that don't serve, what still aligns with the goals that you do have? And this is where the trade-off is kind of like guilt or growth. So hold on to things just because to say that, oh, I didn't give up. A hero that can't cross the finish line on anything doesn't feel like much of a hero. So that's the guilt. It could be growing And the muscle that you're building is the muscle of release. So consider that. And let's move to the A. So in clear, there is A, and that means align. Now that you celebrated, released, and started an evaluation, an objective evaluation, it will be time to align your focus. Which priorities truly connect you to your purpose? And you don't have to share that out loud. If you're with your team, you probably don't tell them exactly what you feel your purpose is. But which priorities actually connect you to your purpose or even to your team's success? Where are you going to invest your best energy in Q1? It's a fresh start for many. If you're above the equator, there's going to be a new year and it's going to be, winter time and there's a freshness like that happens in that time. Where will you invest your best energy in Q1? This alignment, it turns your clarity about what is important into a direction so you can get on the road to whatever's next for you. And lastly, there's the R. So that R stands for this: reset. Reset your environment and reset your mindset. And that might mean actually cleaning your workplace and getting rid of old notebooks that you don't need anymore, filing papers, using a scanner to scan whatever papers you do want to hold on to, but just clearing the space so your mind can start from a visually clear slate. It's starting fresh. And this isn't going to happen by accident. Like magically, your workspace, your home, many of us still work from home periodically, or you might only go in the office a couple days a week. Do you have the clarity of space in those places, either if it's in the office or if it's in your home? Do you have the clarity in those spaces? Do you have clear walls or clean cups, you don't see like yesterday's lunch left on your desk. Those things are all keeping us from being fresh and feeling fresh and unencumbered as we go into the next year. So I encourage you to just jot this down. If you haven't already been doing it, take the time right now to draw 5 columns and the C.L.E.A.R. And as I'm talking, just continue to fill in those columns. One thing you'll celebrate before the end of the year. One thing that you can pat yourself on the back for. What is one thing? You don't have to get rid of it all. I'm encouraging you to create the longer list of what you might let go of, but letting go is actually a process. So just simply saying, oh, I'll let go of it and move on, that doesn't work. So pick one small thing that you might let go of. Think about what's one thing that you can evaluate or reprioritize. So if you're starting your day and you look at one day in the life of yourself, and in that day in the life of, none of that time goes to investing in yourself, either a learning or journaling or exercise, fitness, health, meditation, doing something to restore your energy, evaluate that and see how you can reprioritize that. See how much time you're spending doing administrative tasks that probably can be done in different ways, or other tasks that you might even delegate to someone on your team. Just evaluate that and pick one thing. Then get to the A, one focus area that you want to align around for Q1 2026. And lastly, one small way to reset your space, your habits, or your mindset. And I invite you to type in the chat where you can speak into the space. I know a lot of people don't like to, so feel free to speak into the space. If there's something that you've been holding on to that doesn't serve, that you want to like just get out there. And sometimes when you actually verbalize in some way, written or spoken, that supports you in getting the courage to acknowledge that it's not helping you, you know? Accountability begins with I, but oftentimes when you share what you're working on, it makes the I a little bit more sticky. So I'm working on X, and by saying it out loud, you're breathing it into life. So feel free to drop that in the chat if there's something that you're about to let go of. And where are we moving next? This is going to be a second tool. So I call this the rollover ritual. And the CLEAR framework is kind of just making it very tabular, and this will be somewhat similar, but you can try this even with your team. So list those projects that have gone stale this year. It's 2025. Just name them. List the projects. I know at TLG, we actually have this massive tracker that anything that's happening, we track it, right? We track it because we don't want to lose awareness. We don't want it to drift into the background, so we review it periodically. Some of those things are not important anymore. And chances are, if it's been on the list for more than 90 days with no action, it's clutter, right? This is almost like going into your closet. And as you switch seasons, if you didn't wear it that season, chances are you don't need it anymore. It's clutter. So write those things down, just name them. Don't overanalyze, just name them. Again, this is a framework you can use even with your team. The next thing is sort it. So how do you sort it? Columns. What is it that you want to keep? Meaning it's meaningful and aligned, you're recommitting with energy or some kind of revised scope. Close it. It's no longer relevant. That goes in another column. It's no longer relevant. It's not valuable. It's not worth the effort. You close it with gratitude and say thank you for whatever this was, but it's not relevant anymore. It's not serving me or others. Or you convert it. So this is the sorting process. Keep, close, or convert. Keep it, close it, convert it. And conversion means something needs to change, right? Maybe it needs to be a smaller task. Maybe it needs to be a different owner. Maybe it can convert into a different idea. There's a seed planted, but it still has room to grow. So keep, close, or convert. And know that everything doesn't need closure. Some things just need to tweak a little so that it can better fit with whatever else that you are working on in the future. So you're going through this process, for each one that you mark close or convert, think about this. So I talked about that in the CLEAR framework. Closing or conversion requires some letting go. And when letting go, I mean, when I get rid of clothes and like donate clothes, there's like sentimental stuff that happens. I'm like, oh, I remember I was wearing that when, right? So in the office, in the workplace, it's the same. If you started working on something, you were proud, you're the business owner for something. There's a sense of pride that comes with that and a personality and becomes part of who you are. So when you let go, there's a little bit of mourning that happens sometimes. And just acknowledge that. So you can ask, what did I learn from this? What skill or insight can I carry forward? And what am I freeing up by releasing this thing? So each thing that you say close, each thing that you might convert, let those things, it again, it's a lot of times, and I'm just being real with you, that's how it feels for me. When I'm saying no to something, there's a little bit of sadness that goes with that, especially if I was excited about it at one point in time. If it was something that was just occupying space, you're like, ooh, get that, get rid of that. I'm so happy. But even in those things that you want to get rid of and you can't wait to get rid of, ask yourself those questions. What skill that I gained even from those things that I don't even like? And by getting rid of it, what am I freeing up by releasing this thing? So when you continue to do this over and over, this becomes almost like a ritual. So as you roll over into the next year, maybe you do this once a week as you count down into the new year. Name those things, sort those things that come up because you may not even remember all of the things that are out there for you. If you do something small but symbolic, you can ritualize this process. Maybe you move the closed items if you have a fresh sheet of paper or you get some sticky notes and you mark completed. Put the closed item name on there and say completed and just visually check those things off so you can see the scope, the scale of what you were carrying So sometimes even seeing that visually helps you to say, oh, that's why I'm tired. That's why I feel overwhelmed because I'm carrying all of this weight. So ritualizing this release can be very helpful and affirming and validating. You're working on a lot. You're working on a lot. Your team's working on a lot. If you can do this with your team, that would even be even better. You recognize, acknowledge what's going on, and you get to release whatever's not serving. So that last step is just that release. Whatever you want to do to release it. Again, I encourage the sticky note process, but you can, put that in a folder, close the folder, and then next year you trash the folder or whatever you like to do that would memorialize that effort in a way that is meaningful for you and for others. And you can ask yourself, when you look at that keep or even the convert lists, as you're going into the next year, what one action or what small step is going to signal that you're making progress? What's demonstrating that you're making progress on the keep or convert? You don't have to answer that in this year, but just consider that's something that would be coming up as you go into the next year. So we are nearing the end of our time together, and I truly hope, uh, because of today, you might be a little bit clearer before the end of your year. Feel free to use one or both of these tools to support you, and I thank you for joining us today. I'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about networking where you work. We're going into the holiday season, and a lot of people are going to become, they'll be socially, active. They're going to be having conversations and holiday parties, and those kinds of things will be happening over the next few months. So the idea of networking where you work to make that time feel more meaningful. It's great to socialize, and how can you maximize that opportunity to be with your colleagues, be with people who may not be your colleagues, but might also be in a celebratory mood. But that's what we talk about next time. So in the meantime, you know that you can catch this session and many, many others on demand anytime through the BetterSpaces app. If you have questions or if you just want to connect, feel free to scan this code and reach out. I'd love to connect with you if you continue the conversation. You can drop your email in the chat or even send a message to team@betterspaces.com. We're just about at the end, and I want to thank you. Thank you for being here. Take care and be well.